you had suggested this video about a little wedge Q&A. And we've got to be careful not to make it too long because there's a lot of, I get a lot of answers. I don't know how many questions you have. All right.
But stories are so interesting.
I know. Go ahead. All right.
So we have a ladies beginner golf group who, at the first day of class, we have people that don't know the difference between a pitching wedge and a putter. So we really have to explain to them, you know, the differences between all the clubs. And when I get to the wedges, I usually kind of gloss over it because, you know, people don't retain that information and there's no reason to. But we can look at just even my golf bag. We've got a 52-degree wedge, a 58-degree wedge, a sand wedge, an alternate wedge, a cutter wedge, I don't know what even this, that's a 56, and then a pitching wedge. Like, we got all of these wedges. How the heck is a new golfer supposed
You wonder why your back's been bothering you?
That's ridiculous.
So, all right, so one is you got some redundancy going on here, right? The reason why this is so confusing is marketing, first of all. Okay, so it used to be that a pitching wedge was 50 degrees of loft, and then a 9-iron would have been 4 degrees stronger, so that would have been 46 degrees, right? And then an 8-iron would have been 42 degrees, right? So those are 4-degree increments. You get, again, back up your pitching wedge at 50 degrees, and that 50 degrees is enough to hit a ball that kind of lofts up in the air, and you can hit a pitch shot with it, thus the name. And then you had your sand wedge that generally was 56 degrees. So just from your pitching wedge to your sand wedge, there was a little stretch of loft. And then you had a putter, right? Well, what happened was the manufacturers, trying to sell more golf clubs, they're sitting around in a room, I'm guessing, and they're saying, geez, what do we got to do to beat out that other company to sell more clubs? What do golfers want? What do they want?
Well, they want more distance.
They want more distance. So they said, how are we going to do that? Well, if we started tweaking the lofts and we made the lofts a little stronger. So if we took that pitching wedge loft, and instead of making it 50, made it a 48. And then if we went down to the 9, instead of making that a 46, we made it a 44. And they start strengthening all those lofts and those mid-irons, right? They're going to end up in a situation where golfers with those mid-irons especially are going to feel like, oh, I'm hitting the ball longer with the X brand. And they're going to start selling those clubs. Well, it kept going and going to the point where pitching wedges got down to, 46 degrees of loft. And that popularized a new club called the gap wedge. Okay? This is called an A wedge. And for marketing purposes, this company calls it an A wedge. Other companies will put a G there and call it a gap wedge. Other people put a U there and call it a utility wedge. But it's basically a wedge that's in between your pitching wedge and your sand wedge. Okay? So, and the marketing has gone out of control to the point where, like, my pitching wedge is so strong. I got a new set of clubs last year. My pitching wedge is so strong, okay? It's 43.5 degrees. So what I had to do was, I actually had to keep my old pitching wedge. And so now I have a pitching wedge, and then I have another pitching wedge, and then I have my gap wedge and a sand wedge, and I also carry a lob wedge. So is that 5?
Yeah.
Supposed wedges, but really, I'm not really getting to a wedge until I get to that gap wedge or that sand wedge.
So, bringing it all in, what do we really need to play? Talk about the beginners and maybe even lower handicap golfers. What do they need in their bag?
You need a 54 to 56 degree club as a sandwich. You must have that.
Okay.
And you should have a gap wedge, and you're going to have with the pitching wedge, which is whatever club you want to call it.
And a gap wedge is going to be between?
Probably, 51, 52 degrees.
Okay.
Right? So you're going to really want that. The 60-degree wedge, I don't want to get into that too much. The 60-degree wedge is very, very tempting. It's got tons and tons of loft on it, right? The trouble with this club is, and I've done some research on this actually, like independent research, reading up on it a little bit. The actual area to effectively hit a ball solidly on a lob wedge, on a 60-degree wedge, is very slight. So it's harder to really hit the ball solid with the 60-degree wedge. Once you get over 50, it gets a little tougher. But when you get to 56 and then 60, it's even tougher. So you will really do probably a lot better if you skip the 60. That also takes indecision out of your game. And you're going to have about a 56, so 54 to 56, 51, 52, and then you're going to have your pitching wedge. That'll probably suit you just fine.
Okay.
Don't think of your pitching wedge as the club you're going to pitch with, though.
No, definitely not. So next time, we're going to talk about these different clubs, how to play them, and when to play them. So don't forget to hit the button to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.